see her regularly, but yeah, you know, you touch base. But at least a couple times a week.
She would call, and we hold each other accountable.
Right.
Even if we don't see each other in 3 months, we'll still
It's
like,
okay.
what do you do, whatever.
Right.
So,
Well, let's read into the conversation because dealing with time and money, I mean, the person ends up with you because you help them write, you know, the procedure manuals and things like that. So how does that play out once people get to the point of using your service?
Well, like
Especially on
Kate
vetting.
said, if it's not in writing,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't exist. And that's the bottom line. People come to me usually when they're in trouble. Businesses come to me when they're in trouble. When somebody's broken what we, or what they perceive to be a policy. But it was never written, it was never given to them. So, you're trying to get rid of that person based on their behavior. However, you never had a policy written against that behavior. It's just like, you know, you take a trip and you bring some team members with you, and one or two of them decide to behave in a way that's not indicative of your company, and then your reputation suffers, and then you want to take them, you want to fire them, and then they come back and you find yourself in court because they feel that they're being fired unfairly because you never said anything about it.
So again, we're doing stuff after the fact.
After the fact, and what I tell people is do it in the onset, okay? That's your best protection, because when you wait until something happens, it's too late.
You know what? She said protection, on some things that I'm working with Kim on, the habits. We realized that, I've been just watching people, I just gone into this observation, that protection is a habit. When I look at people who have, you know, the best management of their time and wealth and things like that, they have, it's almost like, I want to say like an order of protection. That's something that's written. You know, they make sure to protect their money, their time, their assets, and people, I mean, there's millions of books and things that we can get on the habits of rich people. But even like I noticed in the ride share, I've been doing the Lyft, and people who take the Lyft, I have so much more respect for them because they refuse to drink and drive. I'm like, why is everybody taking this to dinner? You pull up and they got 4 or 5 cars in the driveway. What is that order of protection? I'm going to protect. I'm intentional in my decision making. We all gonna get in this car. We gonna go out and have a good time. And half the time they gonna get in the car, they done already started. You know, and they're going to whatever venue, and they're gonna have to get in. I'm going back to them. But even though I like don't want to like deal with y'all party too much. But then I'm like, even in that, they're protecting their time, their money, and their assets. Those cars, right? And then you drive by somebody, like I was going to take somebody to the airport, going down South Fulton, and there was a car wrapped around a tree. But the police were there after the fact, so the car, that's the road, you go down that road, you by yourself. So this car had been there all night, because the mud and everything was dry on it. So somebody early that morning just happened upon this person that hit this tree. Right? But that's a person, and it's not to say that they were DUI, they could have just been exhausted. You know? So, but that habit, the mindset of doing it sooner, I have so much respect for people who now have that protection.
Yes.
You know, they don't want to end up on GoFundMe, you know. Woo.
Yeah, GoFundMe is not my insurance place.
No.
Yeah.
When you talk about protection, I think about we protect our bodies, we protect our assets, we
I'm gonna
protect.
say goodbye to you guys, people.
Even in our culture, we don't even protect our children enough to educate them on what we're talking about. Other cultures start when they're in the room talking to them. You're Jewish, okay. But I'm just saying, we gotta do better as a culture.
Yes.
And make or do what you need, or pay them off.
And then
But do
take that
something,
tax
right.
bill that's coming in the
You
mail.
know, we got to pay for taxes, you know, so I would just tell them, you know,
When did this come? I ain't reached that level of success. Just this back.
I was talking to a girlfriend and she and I started a business in 1990 and she was like, oh girl, these taxes. I'm like, you're not setting aside for taxes every time you get a check? Come on, man. You know, just a simple thing we don't even think of. I know she knows better, but just wouldn't even think it.
Sometimes they don't know. They don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't know.
Sometimes they know and they just don't wanna do right. Just because they know better doesn't mean we want to do
Or
right.
again, we think we have time.
Right.
We think we have time.
Yeah, but we
But
don't.
time eats up your money. So if you go over that time,
Well,
you're
and
gonna
the
pay
thing
for it.
about time and money you can probably already always get back. Never get your time back. Never. And once you realize how precious it is, then you start putting value to it. The problem is we don't put value, we don't add value to time. We don't equate value to time. So, can I share something really
Yes,
quick?
go ahead.
You mentioned this Jewish guy, right? So, last week I talked to this Jewish guy, and he's a venture capitalist in California. Somebody connected me to him, and he said, Tara, look, when I grew up, my dad taught me about money. He had businesses. He taught me about entrepreneurship. When we sat at the table, he taught me that we needed to save, that we needed to invest, and even though I didn't want to hear it, that's what I grew up not learning. And so when I got to a point where my first company that I went public in 1992, and I just graduated in 1992, that's when I realized I wanted to teach other people that did not have that kitchen table conversation about money, about cash. I wanted to be able to share it. And what he opened my eyes about is that a new type of entrepreneur. So most of the time, entrepreneurs, we want to start stuff from scratch. You know, we want to build a boat. But we come from a ship that we've been sailing on somebody else's ship, and then we think it's that easy to build a boat. And when you realize that building a boat is completely different than just riding someone else's ship, the reality check of entrepreneurial, like, oh wait a minute, I got money coming in, but the way my bills are set up, who does this, right? So he says, Tara, people are trying to start from scratch where people can make money through acquisition, acquiring business, and you don't even have to use your own money. You're using the capital and the assets of the business that you're trying to acquire. And what I want to teach people is that, especially children in college or kids in college, is not to be just an entrepreneur, be an acquisitioner. You know what I'm saying? So look
Again,
at
paradigm
the
shift.
paradigm, and that was a big paradigm shift for me when I teach my Young Money series, is that I'm teaching them not to go to school to get a job, but to go to school to learn how to create jobs. But what if a 19, 20-year-old looks and finds a 60-year-old that wants to retire and get out of business, and then that 19, 20-year-old acquires the business, leveraging the assets of the business to get the venture capitalist money so that he can buy the owner out. Now he's an owner, and the capital is paying on the loan. Now he owns a business, and he does that several times. That's a whole
Or
different.
even to the effect of when you talk to somebody that's buying a house, or somebody, parents have been in the house 20, 30 years, the mindset isn't even there that it's an ask. They know that, oh, the kids are gonna end up with it, but they don't even think, oh, I'm paying on this every month so that I create wealth for that next generation. Because they're not even giving the
Man,
thought process that that
I've
generation can have.
sold 4 assets away. I sold 4 times I sold my wealth away. Because I could have had 4 investment properties right there. I had my first townhouse. Instead of selling it and buying a new house, I could have put some renters up in there and then bought my new house based on that revenue. I could have done that, but I didn't understand that acquisition mentality. And I sold my wealth away 4 times.
Not to mention the number of people that just lost.
Right.
You know, it's funny you talk about investors, because my girlfriend in Texas, she's gonna come down and we're gonna do an investor series, because there's so much creativity out there. People think, oh, you gotta have all this money. No, you don't. Oh, you gotta have credit. No, you don't. No, you gotta have that. No, you don't.
No, you don't.
You know, so, you know, Tara can attest to that. I mean, so there's just, when you know that you can do better, but we've got to do a better job of putting it out there, you know, so that we can create the wealth. And I know you're gonna say something about wealth.
No, I was just going to say, well, I'm a little bit different when, as far as my growing up upbringing, because my parents did talk to me about money. However, I've experienced it based on certain things. And thank
what to do, but how we got through it. How, you know, how we got over, what is that song? How I got over.
And it's funny, my mom was in the financial industry, you know, all of her adult life, and of course, you know, she knows how to save a dollar. And of course, she did try to transfer that to her kids, but sometimes, you know, early on. But, you know, I do realize the importance of, you know, having good credit, you know, trying not to have too much debt. And even when she retired, she was debt free. Believe it or not, she's driving Uber now. She made a little bit more debt for her, but, you know, she was enjoying her retirement life like she should. You know what I mean? And she had money in the bank and doing good, and, you know, I admire her for that. And so I have a son that every time he got a birthday gift, cash, half of it goes to the bank, and he still does that from, you know, a little boy to now. You know, like half that went to the bank. I don't care what you get, you buy whatever you want. But half of it going to the bank, and that's what he tries to do. So hopefully he'll do the same thing as he starts
And
working.
he probably will, because he's in the habit of doing it. It's all about habits.
He won't even buy a cell phone.
Oh, mine.
Oh, they cheap now.
Oh, mine is like that.
But
He runs himself on.
my sister got me like, my sister's that way. Like she'll always cry broke, but she spends everybody else's money. Girl, I found that out. I was 16 and I was putting some clothes away, and I decided to be nice to her for whatever reason and put her clothes away. And she had this little her underwear drawer that I was putting her clothes. She had all this money up in there, and I'm like, wait a minute, this chick just got $20 from me the other day because she was broke. She learned OPL.
Let me ask you guys this, and I think this is kind of, just to kind of get ready to close it out. How did you decide that what you know, as far as time and money, that you would make it your business, to share with others? Or not just to share with us, but really make it your business?
Well, how it started with me is I had always been that type of person that was time conscious, you know, looking at the clock. Like crazy. All my life, is what I can remember, you know? And so how Managing Time on Purpose started was in 1992. I used to work in a law firm. And in any job, of course, you have to be time conscious and have everything ready and prepared, but in a law firm, it's even more critical. And we had a case that apparently we could not resolve without having to file a complaint. However, I missed the date.
Oh, no.
I missed the date. And ever since that time, I've just been extra conscious than I was even as a teenager. I missed the date, but was already prepared for it. The complaint was already drafted up in my folder. Everything was there, but it wasn't on the calendar. For me, you know, and so the attorney expected me to remember these things, you know what I mean, as his legal assistant paralegal. And from that day forth, that just really stuck with me, and I said, I have to do even better with managing my time. Our events, especially if I'm working for someone else, I need to make sure that I do what I need to do. And that's how it started for me.
Wow. That's interesting to come back to that. How did you decide you were gonna make this your business?
I was speaking at people you need to know. And I was just doing, well, like a lot of been a speaker for lots and lots of years. And it was the first time my sister ever saw me speak. And I prophesied, and I said, that is future Dr. Tia Truitt, and she just got her doctorate this year. Okay? But this happened in 2010, right? You remember? Was there? And I was talking to her, we were at lunch, and she was like, oh my God, you should write a book. I was like, I can't write a book. And then Bonnie's last name, XC, she said, yes, you can. I've self-published 10 books, and this is how you're gonna do it. So that's where Financial Fornication was born. I took my experiences, whatever, and it was my sister telling me, girl, you need to write a book. See, I did not know you had skills like this, but what you're sharing, you need to write a book. And it was a week later, I started drafting. 6 months later, radio stations that said, when you finish that book, because I can now do financial languages for, of children, financial languages for entrepreneurs, financial languages for couples. I can do the small stuff, it's all small stuff. I can
Because I
do
mean,
series.
you get a lot of pushback on the first book.
Right, but I need to redo the first book. One, I need to change the cover. I was afraid to put my face on the cover because nobody knew who I was, and I was a black chick. I'm not afraid anymore. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. And then, I have a lot more content, like I teach people how to have financial orgasms. And it's really a thing, ORGASM. It's really a thing, right? It's not sexual, but it's really a thing. And that's funny, I said my sister's name and she's calling me now, I can't answer the phone. But yeah, I have to do the I think a lot of it is fear factor, which I have to just get over. I need an accountability person that says, where's the first chapter so I can read it?
Yes.
Where's the second chapter so I can read it? And I want the second chapter on this date. I work very well with people saying, I want this now because now I have a deadline, and I may wait till the day before to give it to you, but I'm going to give it to you.
November is the writer's month.
It's authors, appreciation. So I'm since I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6
Okay, so
accountability,
next month.
7 accountability partners right here. But I have to do that because I think that's where the breakthrough is coming in. Because when I start having conversations about financial languages and people understanding what those 4 main, your giver, saver, spender, saver, giver, investor. And based on what your dominant language is, it will determine how you associate with money, but how you communicate to people about money, but how people need to communicate to you. So if he's a spender and I'm a saver, and he keeps coming at me about spending money, I'm gonna cringe every time, so we're always gonna fight. So it's like he's speaking Greek and I'm speaking German, and we're wondering why we can't communicate, because we don't know each other's languages. It's the same thing with money. That's why money issues top things for divorce. So yes, I do have to do that, because then that opens it up to different series within the what is that, the chicken noodle soup?
Yeah.
For the
Yeah.
soul?
I was thinking about that. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. When you gotta get started. What you wanna do today?
Write the outline.
Oh, good for you. Good for you.
You already have a trademark.
She said accountability.
Obviously, I know my accountability partner is.
Right.
We'll be exchanging numbers today.
How did you decide to make this your business?
Oh man, I remember the first time I bought my house, my husband and I, and people were just like, sign here, sign here. I'm like, you want to explain what I'm signing? They never took the time to explain. They just an option that they were doing what they who knows? You don't know what I was signing, And so, I was just like, okay, a little intimidated by the process. And then my husband and I built our home, and I knew the process because at the time I was selling real estate. I was a realtor, but I was also helping a loan officer who didn't know as much as I knew. I'm like, okay, I'm a little stressed out. We're building a home one day, and I was just in the backyard, just thanking God for the blessing. But I really got frustrated and just really cried. I said, and if I'm crying, I know the process.
Right.
I can imagine somebody who doesn't know the process. So at that point, I realized people really need to have their hand held and to understand the process. I understood the process, but it's still stressful, because I was doing both sides of the transaction. But and that's kind of how I got started. I think, and we keep saying this, but you know that you can do better. And one thing, going back to what we were talking about a moment ago, in terms of habits, I would encourage people to save the time and the money, because you never know what's going to happen. Let's say you're traveling and you have a bill due and you know it's coming up. You expect to make it back and pay the bill like you normally do. Set it up on automation. Set it up on automation.
I mean, you really talking about accountability. I'm texting my daughter right now, girl, go pay that up. And I'm like, why is that not
Because
automated?
Technology.
The creditors do your own bank. Most banks have it set up now, but set the thing up on automation. I'm just saying, but that'll save you some time. 'Cause what happens if she's driving to a place, has an accident, have a bid? She's not gonna make it. That bill's gonna be on time. Now you spending more money, wasting more time, because now you gotta work harder to pay that $30
ATM
Fees.
fees
So
a year.
Yes.
Let me explain something to you as a financial institution. Let me explain something to you as a financial institution, okay? We have what's called behavioral fees, okay? So the behavioral fees are if you're gonna do bad things, you're gonna pay. We'll call it convenience fee all day long, but they're behavioral fees. It's based on people's behavior. So if you don't want an NSF fee, don't overdraft your damn account. How about that? If you don't want any other type of fee, then if you don't want an ATM fee, then go to my partners. Because the reason why I'm charging a fee is because it costs me money every time you do it. So I'm just gonna push that fee back onto you. And if you don't like it, don't do it. It's behavioral fees. But we have this thing about convenience. We'll pay for we got cell phones. It's about convenience. We pay that bill every single month when we can just have that landline or anything else, car note or whatever, because of convenience. We're programmed to pay for convenience, and it's costing us a lot. But before we continue, I'm not gonna cry. Yes, I am. So she asked me.
Talking about you when you text.
Yeah, she sure was.
Today?
Yeah, just
So I just. She asked me when I got started, and I said, when I was speaking at People You Need to Know, and my sister was there for the first time, never heard me speak, and I prophesied, this is the future doctor.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you got your doctorate this year. And the reason why I really got into this realm of being out of money is because you said, girl, you need to write a book. And then Bonnie said, yes, you can, and this is how you do it, and that's how I did it.
Am I gonna sketch it out?
Yes.
And we got on her, but you were extra plenty for her.
It's not that color.
So this is a sign, so.
I'm like, that's right. I'm like, that's right. I feel like it's the
We
third.
asked her where is her next book.
Right.
And so they gave me an outline. They said I had, she was like, so what do you want to do it today? I was like, okay, I got to do the
We've been
outline.
talking about it.
I know.
So,
And then you called and I was like, y'all, I'm talking about her, she's calling me. And then you
I
walk
work
over
there
there.
across the street.
Oh, wow.
And then you walk
Did
over
you know she
there.
was coming this week?
No, really? I haven't talked to her in like 2 weeks.
I've been on channel.
Yeah. I thought she was calling me to tell, tell me something, like,
I was just wandering around. I didn't know they had this. So I get coffee here and I go to work at Georgia Tech.
Oh.
And I looked and I was like, she's in my coffee shop. And I said, my sister's here, but where is she? And she's like, look through the door. Right. That's fair.
That's what I said that I wanted to point out. Sometimes it is convenience, but sometimes, just in all fairness, the person is really struggling because they haven't set up an emergency fund, or they haven't set up, and they don't know which direction to go. Sometimes you fall into that pattern of, okay, I'm gonna hit the late fee, but I need to get my car out the shop, or I need to do this. I know it's gonna be a late fee, and I'll put it back when I get paid. So it's like a vicious cycle. It is. For a lot of people, it's a vicious cycle. So I just wanted to point that out as well because. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and sometimes it's just a lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's
You
so
just-
okay, because I mean, I'm gonna tell you before, I used to think there was nothing wrong with going to the ATM and just. It didn't have to be, I didn't know that, but when I learned about it, I didn't come up from a family that was all financial education, financial management and stuff like that. I grew up, my mom would write a bounce check. We know we're gonna write a bounce check.
Right.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Right.
There's
Right.
circumstances and situations, but if you don't have the education and you're not exposed to it, when I went off to college, I went and I opened, I think I had 15 credit cards. I was happy go lucky. I don't have any cards now.
Right.
And I teach my kids the same way. I'm an investor too, you got a property just went in 10 hours. But I mean, I teach my kids the same thing too, and it's just exposure. You have to get that, play the cash flow game, get them talking about it.
So,
And then the one thing I want to say too, when you talked about succession planning, basically you have a business, and that's one of the things a lot of owners struggle with. You have a business, but you don't have a succession plan. The karate studio where my son attends, we watched that whole thing in action. He had a partner, he groomed 2 young men, they took it over, and now it's continuing. So I think if they can see these types of situations, or you be intentional about putting your kids in those types types of situations where they get exposed to it, not just from us as parents, but from other people as well, then they have a better understanding of what to do. And just want to say this, my son just turned 16 a couple of weeks ago, but he also plays the violin. And this past summer was the first time that he actually got a little part-time job at the karate studio. So, perfect timing, he got his part-time job, he worked his hours, he was making $8 an hour, he got his check, he was happy. The very same day, he got paid from performing as a violinist at a wedding in church, $150 per hour.
Wow.
Let me say that again.
Yeah.
$150 per hour. So what's in that conversation is that here's what you make as an employee, the sky's the limit as an entrepreneur.
Right.
So if your kids have talents, expose them to it, and let them see the sky's the limit.
You know, that's a very good point because my daughter, who's at Georgia State, I said, girl, you know how to get a job. So she's like, okay, mom, get a job. So luckily, she's been able to maintain her Hope Scholarship as she's working, trying to play it. She said, that's too much. It's gonna be there. Get your mind right, because you need to get out of school. She's a pre-med. So she was like, well, I'm gonna work at this department store. I said, girl, that's too much time. I said, you need to find something that's going to be able to work within your schedule. I said, because you now get to realize that your time is very valuable. You know, so I said, you need to start thinking out the box. So about a year ago, she says, okay, mom, I'm gonna be a nanny. I said, okay. So she got the job as a nanny. It worked out perfectly with her schedule. She did what she needed to do. And she's making like $1,200. Well, now she got a new job. She's making more, $1,200 a month. With just a little bit of time. I said, do you see how time and money matter? She said, oh my God, I see it. I said, when you can work 20 hours here, you can work 5 hours and double. You need to look at it. Right. It was just such a light bulb for her. She's like, oh my God, I made this kind of money. I said, girl, you made me want to stop us. Really?
Yes.
I just say it. You know what I mean?
Conversation and the guidance we have to have with them.
With what you were saying about, some people just don't know, so I have a copyrighted quote saying that ignorance is not bliss, it's expensive as hell. And so that's what, as a financial institution, that's what we really bank on, is people's ignorance, because that's $1 trillion industry when you talk about overdraft fees. They don't know better. And so as long as they don't know better, they're gonna keep paying these fees. Just like you said, they're gonna go to the foreign ATM, they're gonna overdraft their account, they're gonna use courtesy pay. And so what I had to teach people, courtesy pay, courtesy pay is the devil. Well, okay, let me tell you, it's the devil if you use it wrong. So courtesy pay will allow you to overdraw your account, but charge you $35 per transaction. So you have people buying coffee for $5 and they overdraft their account, and now that coffee now costs $40. And so they have $600 in fees. Now their account is $600 negative. So when their direct deposit comes in, automatically negative $600. So what do? They overdraft again, right? So I had to teach you, if you're gonna overdraft your account until you can get there, and you know you're gonna overdraft your account, instead of 10 fees, which is $350, do a one withdrawal of that $500 negative account and get $35. Now it's a payday loan, but it's cheaper until you can get your balance. So I had to teach them how to do wrong in a cheaper way until we can get
So they're not saying they had a savings rate to make their account.
Exactly. Well,
Make the account.
they didn't have to open their savings. That was a side piece account. That's the whole problem I had.
Let's end on this. Where is the opportunity? Where is the biggest opportunity? It seems like fees is pain point. If we're gonna take people from to better manage their time and their money, it seems like coming at it from fees, showing people how, I can just imagine, and you hear somebody's wasted $3,000 on fees when they could have been traveling around the world. But if you try to talk to them about traveling, you'll get much more pushback. When you try to tell people that's opened up a window to the world. And there's so many people that won't travel and they have such limited view because you leave all your money in these fees. That's so what is the opportunity? Then I want to end the way we started. I want to go around again with the questions and vetting. I think that was fun, and I love how everybody's question had to do with it. We want to see if we play a little bit faster. We're going to try to go around a couple times. But where is the opportunity? Rita, in what you just heard where we should start from. I had a person, they were fussing about, that, you know, when the kids get grown, they gotta go and get them more. And I shut down the conversation. I said, well, the first place they're supposed to be able to borrow money from is you. As a parent, as a family, you should have a fund. Now, if you can't conceive that, then therein lies the opportunity. And so if you're so mad about the banking system, then start putting that money back. Because the majority of the people who don't have this frustration, you know, they live right next door and they're paying a tenth of what you're paying on your mortgage because they borrowed from family or the family fund money that's been turning over and turning over and turning
Or
over.
from their cash value
Forever.
life insurance.
Or from their, exactly. You know, we're still trying to figure out how our grandparents had more than we could ever see to have. It's like, oh, that's why they always had money. The life insurance. But that information is not out there. We're not educated on that. You know, now today, you know, there's a person in the family that's got insurance on everybody. And you don't even know.
It's a grandparents.
Right, okay? And somebody was on Facebook complaining about that, and I'm like, okay, well, that's it. Well, get like grandma, go insure everybody. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but
Insuring
that's,
while their kids, while they're cheaper and younger.
Exactly.
Right. And you pay the $25 or the $50 a month, and when they're 40 or 50 and come and ask you for money, you pull it out of their cash value life insurance.
I know, and see, and my dad does that. He's like, okay, I need this and that, and he's got an insurance policy he's had forever. You know, but has he ever said, well, this is how I did it. This is what I'm doing. This is where I get this money from.
Right.
This is why I want a trip every now and then, you know, because it's money that's coming in. You know, some of us are living off of, gotta go to work 40 hours. Other people are living off dividends. Did we talk about that?
My grandfather, that's pretty much what he does. Every time someone needs money, he always has money coming from somewhere.
Somewhere.
So, you know, I finally figured out where the money is coming from. But he's very, very tight-lipped and close-fit about where the money is. So it's almost like, well, how am I going to learn how to do this if you don't teach me and show me what you're doing and keep it going? And I think a lot of that is disconnect where our grandparents have this money and they keep it to help the family, but they never educated on how we create it for our children's children.
So that therein lies the opportunity. And you only got a chance to sit in just a little bit. But we played this game earlier. We were talking about vetting people who want your time and your money.
Okay.
So what we said, what I said I did this week was every time somebody asked me a question, instead of answering the question, I threw a question back at them to kind of vet them as to why they are entitled to know such information. And if they're really gonna understand, if I, you know, divulge all of this stuff, if I start talking about, here's where I can go. Because the first thing people ask me as an entrepreneur, how do you make money? Are you trying to make money? You know what I'm saying? How you make money?
Right.
And they might have just, you know, just wanted a little bit, and you don't give them the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? You want to make money?
Or they're trying to find out how to take your money.
How to take the money, right? Who are your customers? Are you trying to be a customer?
Yeah.
You got to vet. That's the biggest thing I've learned about time when I'm taking into 2017 is vetting people. I've got to vet people because a lot of times let's say that I'll start giving you a lot, but you might not do anything with it. But she heard it, and they take it and run with it. And I noticed that throughout the year, I'm pouring into one person, but like the person that's always with them, they were going to implement every piece that they were listening, right? And it's okay. Because now, when people ask me what kind of results I get, I tell them, go look at It's like, wow. But see, we got to be results oriented. We got to be more results. We got to want results. And that's another thing. People really don't want results. Talk about accountability. They really don't want results. They really don't want to know that they just spent $3,000 a year on fees. You know, and what that $3,000 could look like 10 years from now, 15 years from now. That you could, you know, $3,000 you could have, and you could become that investor or be in that 1% or whatever everybody's mad at. When we get into politics, they start getting mad at it. Say, well, the Republicans are welcome, but the Democrats are welcome too. You know, they don't even have that conversation with you, so.
So really the opportunity is to plan.
Yes.
For everything.
Yes.
Discipline
That's the
is to
foundation.
not be so fearful of the lies. Because
Fear.
people fear
Yeah.
the lies, okay? So I fear the lies of, it's gonna be painful for me to go work out and exercise and do all this, but that's a lie. I mean, the lie that I believe every morning is my bed feels more comfortable than me getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go work out. But the reality of it is I feel my best after I work out.
Once you get there.
But I believe my lie. I get more done when I get up at 5 o'clock and go walking for 45 minutes to an hour, and I have all more energy and I'm ready to conquer the world versus if I sleep until 7 and then I'm sluggish throughout the end of the day. But I believe the lie that my bed feels more comfortable than getting out in this cold and walking. And so when we stop believing the lie, then we'll start executing more.
Or maybe